Welcome, everybody, to the Doc and Jock Side Bet Show. I'm here with the Middle Eastern madman, the Doc, John Macaroon. I'm your host, Adam Straczynski. Doc, how you doing? What's going on? Are you ready to talk about the AL Central and the odds that we pulled from Bovada?
The reason why I love doing this, cuz, is that we get a chance to help everyone put some money in their pockets. I mean, if you want to listen to other shows, they're just going to put you into debt and make sure that you lose on your bets. Adam and I have a lot of great experience with the sports. We love talking about all sports: basketball, football, baseball, hockey. Adam and I will bet pretty much on two kids racing down the street. And so we are so competitive that we have the inside knowledge to help you make some money. That's why we love doing this. We love talking sports. We love helping the average Joe out there to be like us and be successful. Listen, other people out there wouldn't put their own money on the line. Doc and Jock, we always deliver. We put our own money on the line to make sure that we let you know we believe in what we're saying. So if you listen to our information, I'm almost saying this. I can't guarantee it because this is for entertainment purposes only. But being that we are knowledgeable about sports, this is the place to listen for your sports knowledge across the board. Ready to go, Jock? Hit us with some information on the AL Central.
Before we get started, real quick, is it true that you once put your mom up in a game of Jenga? You wagered her?
Yeah, and I got to the point, it was almost tipping. I was like, oh no, I'm going to lose, Mom. But pulled the piece out, put it on the top, and the guy busted the pieces, and I got to keep my mom.
The only guy who bets his mom in a game of Jenga, the Doc, John Macaroon. All right, let's start this off. Let's start at the top, all right? According to Bovada, the Detroit Tigers are a negative 2.25 to 1 favorite to win the AL Central. So for those who don't know what that means, basically you got to put $2.25 of your own money up to earn $1. So let's kind of talk about why. Let's kind of delve in and kind of get into the nuances of why the Tigers are such a heavy favorite to win the Central. First off, they have the best rotation in the American League Central. Yes, no? I think so. Best player in the Major League Baseball. You got a two-time MVP in Miguel Cabrera, who's now moved over to first base. He looks leaner. He looks trimmer. He looks like he's in great shape. On top of it, him playing first base, he doesn't have to get nicked up and injured. Also, speaking of injuries, even with all these injuries that this team has suffered through the preseason, the team is better defensively, especially on that infield. This is something that really hindered this team last year and the year before that because they were just basically a boom or bust team. Now they actually are a little bit quicker. They've got guys on the infield who actually can handle their positions and field their positions. How do you feel about everything I just said, Doc?
Listen, the Tigers last year got 93 wins. I'm expecting them to have a little bit more this season. Now, whatever regression the Tigers might experience with all these injuries and the loss of Prince Fielder, the starting pitching should make up for it. Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer are Cy Young winners. Anibal Sanchez has put up at least 180 innings with a sub 3.9 ERA in each of the last 4 seasons. Now, the 4th and 5th spot is a little dicey after that. They're going to miss the departed Doug Fister. Dave Dombrowski, I don't know what happened with him, decided to ship our man Doug Fister out to Washington for
spare parts and change.
For spare parts, and now, the issues in Detroit are a little bit concerning regarding how we're going to put up some numbers in that who's going to protect our boy Miguel Cabrera. I mean, at this point in time, we thought that they should have got him a little bit more help. Victor Martinez, Austin Jackson, how's he going to do in the 6th spot? But, the outlook out there in Vegas and out here in Detroit is great. Right now, I believe Vegas has the Dodgers being the prohibitive favorite to win the World Series, but the team right behind them to win the World Series is Detroit. So I think that it's a safe bet out there for you to think that the Tigers, the 3-time defending AL Central Division champs, are going to take it home again. And because the teams behind them, while they improved, I don't think that the talent can match the big 3 of Detroit in Scherzer, Verlander, and Miguel Cabrera. If those 3 can put up numbers similar to what they put up in the past, then look for the Tigers to be a lock to be the AL Central Division champs, make the playoffs for a straight season.
Also, not too many teams out there can boast 2 Cy Young winners. So the Tigers got that, and like you said, Anibal Sanchez, he's a great number 3.
Who's your team that you think is going to be second in the division?
The team that I think is going to surprise a lot of people, it definitely isn't surprising Vegas, as Vegas has them number 2 in the division. That's going to be the Kansas City Royals. Right now, Vegas has them coming in at a 4.5 to 1 favorite. So Kansas City, they've got a lot of young athletic talent. They just added Omar Infante to their infield, so that helps shore up second base. He's a very good fielding second baseman, as well as he can hit for a great average and he can provide power. Also, they have a dynamic offense. They have a young lineup that hits for high average and has power. You got guys like Billy Butler out there who can smack the ball. You got Nick Moustakis out there. So they have a very young and talented team. Don't sleep on these guys. Also, the top of the rotation is filled with 3 sub 2.5 ERA guys. You got a rookie out there named Ventura, you've got Shields, and you got Vargas. The only issue is, as you go down the rotation, their 4 and 5 guys are just gas cans. They're posting high 7 ERAs. So don't sleep on the Royals. They look good offensively, and they look solid. At least their first 3 pitchers look solid.
Jock, no, I disagree with you. I think that the team that is most likely to press the Tigers all season and finish in second place is the Cleveland Indians.
So the Tribe drops its 3rd straight on this trip, 6-1 to the Rangers. For the Indians, 1 run on, 1 hit. That's all. We got 1 goddamn hit.
You can't say goddamn on the air.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.
And the reason why I disagree with you regarding the Royals is they got 0 depth. If any of their starting 9 are hurt or don't perform as well, then I think that group is in trouble. They desperately need Butler, Hosmer, and Gordon to be exceptional for a complete 162 games. And I think that's a lot of pressure on a group that's proven to be very good, but not elite. And I think the Tigers are elite, and I think Cleveland is pressing the Tigers. And so I think that the Kansas City Royals are going to finish 4th in the division. And the reason why I think that Cleveland has a chance to press the Tigers is that their pitching staff has been renovated from top to bottom. Masterson is the ace, but he's also been in the same situation as Scherzer in that he's had some contract issues that could leave some bad blood throughout the season. Young Danny Salazar looks like he is a promising pitcher. 24 years old, he could become the ace of the staff real quick. But they're banking on Corey Kluber, Zach McAllister, and they want them to have lower their ERA a little bit. Each posted below 4.0 ERAs last season, but can they continue it this year? The number 5 starting spot for Cleveland is up for grabs. The Tribe has weaker options for potential number 5 starter in Carlos Carrasco, Josh Tomlin, and Sean Markham. Now, the team last year in Cleveland has to replace the production from Ubaldo Jimenez and Scott Kazmir, who left during the offseason. So the Indians are going, the Indians last year lost in the play-in game. The Indians are looking for back-to-back postseason efforts, but there's been a lot of turnover on this team, and depth, again, like Kansas City, is an issue for Cleveland. It's going to take a lot for Terry Francona to keep this team above 90 wins. If last season's run is any indication, then this team can press the Tigers all year and may overtake them. But my team to finish second place is the Cleveland Indians.
I'm glad you bring up the Indians. They're a 5.5 to 1 favorite to win the AL Central, according to Bovada. They're a team that surprised last year. I think they're still in the rebuilding stages. Like you said, Masterson is definitely their ace. That guy's got wicked stuff. They just sit there and they just brought in a new closer. They brought in John Axford, who was added to this bullpen. He's going to really lock down that back half of that rotation for these guys. By putting that closer in there, by putting in a guy who has a good arm, who's got decent stuff, it's going to really sit there and give the guys who are ahead of him in the rotation, the starting rotation, a little bit more confidence. On top of that, you add a champion caliber manager in Terry Francona. I think you basically had covered the rest with going through their lineup. But according to Bovada, they're ranked 3rd. I think that they might surprise, but I'm really looking at the Kansas City Royals to sit there and kind of push the Tigers this year. Moving on, I'm interested to know who you have, because you said Kansas City's going to finish 4th. So who do you have finishing 3rd?
I have the Chicago White Sox finishing 3rd. And the reason why I have them is their starting pitching is okay. Arguably, they have one of the better pitchers, left-handed pitchers in the game behind Clayton Kershaw in Chris Sale. He's a dynamic young starter. But after that, a steep drop-off. And the White Sox, right now, the way they're constructed, they are either can be an elite team or can be a team that sinks to the bottom real quick. If Abreu has a similar impact as Jonas Cespedes did with the A's, then you know what? Maybe things can take off for the White Sox. But their talent is just way behind Cleveland right now. People are liking the signing of Abreu, but he is responsible for anchoring a lineup that only scored 598 runs last year, which was, believe it or not, that stat, they only scored 598 runs. was below the Astros, the garbage Astros. They scored less runs than Houston did. So the way
For whatever
the White
reason,
Sox,
that doesn't surprise me.
the way their lineup is constructed, they got too many guys that strike out too much. You know what? The perfect example of a player on the White Sox is Adam Dunn. Mm-hmm. Free swinging, strikes out a lot, but when he connects, can hit a lot of home runs.
Yep.
And so the lineup is filled with too many players like that. You know, you got Gordon Beckham, Alexei Ramirez, Adam Dunn. There's no consistency in that kind of lineup. And so that's why I just think that, you know, they're going to be counting on guys that they picked up like Avisail Garcia from the Tigers last year. Dayan Viciedo can make giant leaps forward. But they're kind of counting on guys that have been inconsistent. And so that's why I believe that they're going to fall behind the Indians this year, and they're pretty much a good spot to finish either in the 3 or 4 spot in the AL Central.
Yeah, according to Bovada, they're a 12-1 favorite. I really think they are fourth-place team. I really feel like the team has gotten old over the last 3 seasons, and I really feel like they've gotten old right before our eyes. They feel like one of those teams that over the course of the last 3 years, they've traded away much of what made them successful. A lot of young players, it seems like they've given up for guys, like you said, like a guy like Adam Dunn, who you said basically fits their mold of what they are. Free swinging. When they connect, it's great, but they tend to strike out a whole lot. Or coming out of spring training, on the field, those guys have struggled at the plate. Their best pitcher has thus far been John Danks with a 3.5 ERA. Chris Sale has struggled this spring training. I expect him to get that corrected, and I expect him to still be the ace of that rotation. But coming out of spring training, he has looked very woeful. So these guys, I don't expect the Chicago White Sox to really impress. I expect them to have another year of rebuilding. You're going to put a lot of pressure on a guy like Avisail Garcia. You're going to expect a lot more from a guy like Adam Dunn. And I just don't see you getting that production that you're counting on from those guys. And when basically Chris Sale is your ace and he has looked horrible in spring training, it doesn't say a whole lot. I mean, when the old man John Danks is sitting there being your best pitcher with a 3.5 ERA, that's not good.
So I think you and I are in agreement that the Minnesota Twins are going to finish in the basement.
In the basement, they're 25-1.
So Minnesota, if you're out there listening from Minnesota, you can line up for the doc. I have some good medicine for you to make you feel better from your depression. And it's going to be a long, depressing season again for you Minnesota fans. The reason why is...
They have a really nice stadium.
The reason why you should be depressed out there in Minnesota, the players can't hit, the pitchers can't pitch. They're going to be somewhat okay on defense, but Minnesota was hoping for a little bit of excitement from center fielder Byron Buxton and Miguel Sano. But guess what? Pitcher Miguel Sano needs Tommy John surgery, and Byron Buxton is likely going to start in the minors. So what little hope they do have is out the window. So out there in Minnesota, your pitching staff is horrendous. When you compare the top of the teams in the AL Central to what Minnesota's got, good luck. It's unbelievable.
Hey, their 3 top pitchers are Mike Pelfrey, Cal Gibson, and Phil Hughes.
Who?
Exactly.
Oh, my God.
Phil Hughes. He's probably the only name you might know. He's from New York.
Oh, my
And
gosh.
you might know Mike Pelfrey, but I have no idea who Kyle Gibson is.
Look at this. They won just 66 games last year and have averaged just about 65 wins each of the past 2 seasons. And this year might be their worst team yet because it's really bad what's happened in Minnesota. And, yeah, Ron Gardenhire is a really great manager, but how he survived the last couple years, I don't know. So it's going to be a long season out there in Minnesota. Everybody predicts them to be in the basement, and that's going to finish.
I can tell you how he's succeeded and why he's still around. It's because everybody, even the management, knows that this team is bad. So, I mean, this is just another rebuilding year for them. The Twins trying to keep and revive Joe Mauer. They're moving him to first base. You're basically taking your all-star catcher and you're like, hey, just go play first base. Don't get nicked up. Don't get banged up. Just try to survive the season. Expect the Minnesota Twins to be in rebuilding mode for probably another 2 years. I don't foresee them doing a whole lot of anything unless they somehow get lucky and just, I don't know, go on a tear. But I don't see that happening. And that wraps up the AL Central. The odds from Bovada. The Detroit Tigers are a negative 2.25-1 favorite to win the Central, followed by Kansas City at 4.5-1, followed by the Cleveland Indians at 5.5-1, followed by the White Sox at a 12-1 clip, and the Minnesota Twins, who are the garbage of the AL Central, at 25-1.
Yeah, now Doc and Jock agree that the Tigers should finish first in the AL Central and Minnesota should finish last, but you have to stay tuned throughout the season to see where the second, third, fourth place fall. I think that it's going to be Cleveland finishing second with the White Sox finishing third. with Kansas City rounding out at number 4 just because of their lack of talent. And Adam and I are in agreement that Minnesota is going to finish in the basement. Depressing.
And I pretty much agree with what Bovada said. I think Kansas City is going to be nipping at the Tigers' heels all season long. I think the Indians will be right there too in that race. And then I think it's kind of a two-man race for the back of the division.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what.